In this video, I'm going to give you all the things that you should look out for if you are shopping for a C4 or 4th generation Chevrolet Corvette. So stick around. Let me begin with a brief overview of the C4 or 4th generation Corvettes. They were offered for sale from 1984 through 1996. Chevrolet built over 358,000 of them, of which about 74,000 were convertibles. That means there's still a lot of them on the road and a lot of them on the market for you to purchase, and you're going to find them in all different types of conditions. Now, this happens to be my 1995 model that I picked up less than a year ago. It's got 38,000 miles on it. And so let's begin with going around the outside of the car, and let me show you some of the things you're going to want to watch out for. So this happens to be the 7th Corvette that my wife and I have owned, going all the way back to my first one in 1996. And so one of the things that I've learned over the years, of course, is that sloping hood of the Corvette is one that new Corvette buyers sometimes have a hard time judging the distance when they're parking the car. And if you get it wrong, you end up in this situation. So there's a little bit of damage here and a little bit of damage you can see here, and that's because this car has been bumped into something. So one of the first things you're going to want to take a look at is the front end to see if there's any damage. The next item I suggest you take a look at is those pop-up headlights. While they are wonderful, they are also prone to having the motors go bad. And so you're going to want to make sure you put them up and down a couple of times and make sure they flip properly, that you don't have any grinding sounds from them. Otherwise, you are replacing those headlight motors. Now let's talk tires. If you are going to buy a C4 that has low mileage, such as this one of the things you're going to want to inspect is how old the tires are, not just the amount of tread depth that's left. So tires come with a DOT date code on them that will give you an indication of the age of the tire. And so when I purchased this car, the rears I discovered were from 2002, and the front tires were from 1998 on one corner and 2000 on the other one. And the way I could judge that is if it's from 2000 or newer, it generally has a 4-digit number. The first 2 digits are going to be the week of the year. The last 2 digits is going to be the year that it was manufactured. And so tire manufacturers will tell you if they're more than 5 or 6 years old, it is recommended you replace them, no matter how much tread is still left on that tire. The sidewalls break down, they dry rot, you don't want to take any risks. So the first thing I did when I bought this car was take it to a tire shop and put 4 new tires on it. If the car you're looking at is from 1992 through 1996, the vast majority of them are powered by the LT1 V8, such as this one. The one exception is the LT4, which was a 30 horsepower bump and similar to the LT1, only available in 1996. Anyways, the problem with these cars is the Optispark. Now, the Optispark is an optical distributor. It's mounted on the front of the engine. I'd show it to you, but it's kind of buried under here and it's hard to see. And the problem was it was designed in such a way that the water pump is above it, and the Optispark is susceptible to moisture. And so if your water pump fails, that can fail the Optispark, and now you're replacing them both, and that is a very expensive undertaking. Now, generally you will know when you test drive the car if you may have an issue with an Optispark. If it has a hard time starting, if it stumbles, if it just doesn't sound right, I would walk away. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the Optispark, but on these later models, it's quite possible that could be what the problem is. This particular car is equipped with the Selective ride control. So on the inside of the vehicle, you have a dial that you can change the suspension settings from Tour to Sport to Performance. Now, when the system works, it's great. The problem is getting parts to replace these, and we're talking about this mechanism here that attaches to the shock. That can cost you $750 per corner of the car in order to replace it. And so sometimes you will find cars that were equipped with Selective ride control where a previous owner, once the system failed, actually replaced those with just standard shock absorbers. When it comes to the air conditioning system, If you're looking at one of the last 3 model years, 94, 95, 96, then the system runs on the R134A refrigerant, and so if you needed to charge the system, it's certainly not going to be a problem. But if you're looking at an older model, they ran on the R12, more commonly referred to by the brand name Freon, and of course Freon was something that was banned back in the 80s because of the damage to the ozone layer. Now, it is illegal to manufacture Freon, but it is not illegal in order to purchase it and use it on your car. So if the system does not have a leak, you can still go on places like eBay and find old cans of Freon R12 that you can put in the system. But if the system is not working and has a leak, then you're going to end up having to convert the system over to R134A, and that could be an expensive process. So please keep that in mind. Beginning in 1989, you could order a low tire pressure monitoring system for the car. Now, this is an early generation product. It was a band that was strapped on the inside of the rim with a sensor, and they had a tendency to fail. I would tell you, if you've got a check engine light that comes on your dash that says TPSW or something to that effect, that generally tells you it had the tire pressure warning system, and it's probably because one of those sensors has failed. While I'm under the hood here, I'll just mention that with any used car you take a look at, of course, you want to check all the lights and turn signals and all those sorts of things. So when I bought this car, I happened to notice that this particular under hood light is not functioning. So I took this glass piece off and put bulbs in it, but unfortunately the problem apparently is a wiring issue. So that's one of the things I'm going to have to chase down and repair on this vehicle. If you're looking at a coupe, the Targa top will either be body colored, or in this particular case, this car came with one of the transparent roof panels. And so if you're looking at one that has one of these transparent panels, you're going to want to look all the way around it to make sure there aren't any cracks in it. Now, if you happen to be looking at a convertible, it's a manual convertible top. Put the top up and inspect the top for its condition. Check the rear window in that convertible top to make sure it doesn't have any damage. If you're looking at buying a coupe, you're going to want to take a close look at the weather stripping. And so it has a tendency to dry out and rot, and you can see I've got a little damage here. But one of the common areas on the coupe is right here. You see where that weather stripping is separated. It looks almost like someone put a piece of duct tape in there to try and keep it together, and that becomes a leak. You wash the car and the water sprays up into the rear. And so I've already got an estimate to have that replaced, and if I walk around to the other side, you'll see I have the same problem over here. Not quite as bad, but you can see where it's separated. And so the part alone is maybe $150 plus labor in order to get it installed. If you're getting a coupe, check that the rear glass goes up when you push the button on the remote control. These struts should make the glass go up automatically. If it doesn't want to go up on its own, that means these struts likely need to be replaced. The car is equipped with a power antenna, and so this is one of the things you're going to want to make sure that it goes up and down properly. And so I'll turn on the stereo, and it should automatically go all the way up. Make sure it doesn't get stuck along the way. And when I turn the stereo off, it should go down properly and retract completely back into the body. When you open the car, especially on the driver's side, pay special attention to the door panel. Notice on this vehicle, the door panel is separated here, and we have taken the door panel off and tried to reset it, and it's going to have to be affixed to get it back in place. And so I've got a shop actually that's going to repair that for me. And so this is a common problem. When that door has been open and shut so many times, this door panel will have a tendency to pop loose. Now that you have the driver's door open, take a look at the door panel here and here on the door sill, just to see if people have been dragging their feet across this, where it's worn out the carpeting or it's put marks in the door panel. And I will tell you that at some point in time in this car's history, a previous owner bought these plastic covers that actually go over that carpet, which is actually a great idea, that helps to prevent that wear from dragging your feet back and forth. Now let's talk about how you get in and out of the car. Now getting in is not really the issue. You can just kind of fall into place. The problem is many people will have a tendency when they get out of the car, they want to use the steering wheel kind of as a brace to help them climb out. Well, the problem with that is there are bushings in this steering column that can fail. So when you sit down in the car for the first time, grab that steering wheel and see how much play it has. If you're feeling play in that steering wheel when the car is off and it's sitting in a parking lot like this, that may tell you you've got bushings here in the steering column that are going to have to be replaced. And so one of the things that you have to kind of teach yourself when you own one of these is you want to take your feet out, and then you either want to grab here on the A-pillar, or I push off here on the door sill, and that's how I get in and out of the car. Now, once you're in the car, there's a couple of things to look for. One is you want to inspect the dash, make sure there are no cracks in the dash. Before you get in, you might want to check the seats. Now, the earlier models did offer a cloth interior, but all your later models were all leather, and so especially this side bolster, of course, has a tendency to have wear or damage to it. So, and then once you're in here, you also want to take a look at the dash as far as the digital readout. Now, if you're looking at an earlier model, it was an all digital readout, and those lighting in that had a tendency to fail. And so there are people now who will refurbish those and put new LED lighting in them for you, but that can be rather expensive to have done. And so you're going to want to inspect that and see what the clarity of the readout is. On a later model, like this 95 I'm in, it only has digital in the center that shows me my speed. And so you're obviously going to want to inspect that as well to make sure that it looks correct and doesn't have any dead areas to it. Now, an old car like this has a whole lot of controls to it and a whole lot of buttons. And so take your time and go through all of them. You've got power door, you got, in this case, I've got power seats. I've got a Bose upgraded stereo system, which has got all kinds of controls. If you're looking at a car like this that has CD and cassette, make sure to bring a CD and a cassette with you so that you can test those and make sure that they work properly. Because anything you find that has to be repaired obviously is another expense. It's something else that you can negotiate with the owner of the vehicle to give yourself a better discount. If you're buying a coupe, you're going to want to make sure it has the tool for removing your Targa top. And that tool should be in the center glove box. So when I come in here and I open the glove box, and if you look around in the back, you'll notice there is where the tool is mounted in the glove box. And so you're going to want to inspect and make sure the tool is there so that you can remove your Targa top and enjoy the warm weather. There's one other small item I want to point out here in the interior, and I'm going to look up at the sun visors. You notice I have a binder clip on this sun visor here, and the reason for that is if I take it off, you see what happens. It flops around, and it's true on the other side as well. And I think this may be a common problem, that the cardboard or whatever they used as the structure in here, it must have a seam or something that just lets go. Now, you can obviously buy replacement sun visors and swap that out, but that's one of the things I haven't gotten around to yet. I want to wrap up by adding a couple of obvious items. One is ask for maintenance records. I was very fortunate when I bought this car that not only do I have the records from the owner who had it for the 5 years before me, but he had gotten records from the owner before him. So I now have 13 years worth of maintenance records, so I know how well the car had been maintained. Also ask how many sets of keys they have. As you can see here, I was fortunate that my seller had both sets of original keys, and so I managed to get both sets of keys. If you're watching this video and you're a C4 owner, let me know what I forgot. Is there something I should have added? Drop me a comment below and tell me what should have been included in this video. My name is Tom Stroup, and you've been watching Find the Right Road. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks, and we'll catch you next time.